Welcome back to another episode of the Semen Retention Sunday on this channel. And today the topic is going to be on how God humbles you when you are on semen retention. Now, this also just goes along with celibacy in general. Whenever you are just choosing to be celibate, whenever you are choosing a purifying path, you're going to be humbled one way or another. Don't be alarmed when you are being humbled. And how do you know if you're being humbled? Well, there's a few scriptures that I want to go over on how God humbles you and how you can actually be lifted up through your humbling. So the first scripture that I want to read from is Proverbs 29, and it is 29:23. Says, "A man's pride shall bring him to the low, but honor shall uphold the humble in spirit." So what this is saying is that your excessive pride and glory in yourself is going to actually leave a void in you. Now, a lot of the times, I'm sure everybody that's on this channel that has seen multiple videos of mine that on narcissism or haters, etc., these people all have a void to fill. And they're trying to do so by instant gratification, looking for the next best thing. You know, this happens a lot in modern relationships, unfortunately, where it is the case that and it is sad too. It's actually sad to see how many men and women out there are choosing to live lives that are always looking for something better, and they're never really fully satisfied with the peace of mind that they can get. Now, there are people that actually do have these qualities, and my hat's off to them, and they're living their life good. They're just fine. They're okay with being okay. And that's fantastic. And when you're okay with being okay, that's a sign that you've been humbled or you've had some kind of upbringing or life experience where you've been able to get to that point. But on semen retention specifically, because you're practicing the most sacred discipline that a man can practice, ultimately what's going to happen is with time, you are going to be humbled and you're going to be shown that you are actually not all that. You are actually not as strong maybe as you once thought you were when it comes to your urges. Or you might find that your urges have more hold over you than you originally once thought. You know, these kinds of urges and these kinds of thoughts of perversion even may have been taking a hold on you more so than you thought. And that's part of the purification process of letting go of PMO altogether. You know, when you're stopping the corn, when you're actually not looking at women as sex objects all the time, and don't get me wrong, women are beauty objects to some degree. In fact, women, in my experience, really like to be objectified in a good way. As long as it's objectified in a good way, they're fine with it. But which is funny how that works, right? It's funny how it works where when they're objectified in a good way, it's fine. But whenever there's like a possible negative connotation or something being revealed about the female nature, that's when things can get a little slicey and dicey. But nonetheless, it is the case that women are the beauty objects. And it is also the case that men are what you would call a success object or a leadership object. And I have read a quote on Schopenhauer, who was a philosopher a few hundred years ago. And he said something that really sparked something in me. He said, I I swear there are those flies again. They always come out in the video. It's crazy. Anyway, whenever he says something like this, he says, in the hearts of women, they believe that it is a man's job to make money and hers to spend it. And I thought that couldn't be any more true, really. And this was even a couple hundred years ago when he wrote this. So it's not like women have really changed when it comes to how they view men. It's just more that their freedom now is just being even more revealing on what actually their motives are most of the time. And I'm speaking about women that are not traditional. I'm speaking about women that are not living in the truth. If you're a woman living in the truth, then you have nothing to, no quarrel with this. And I know the women on this channel that are actually traditional women that have reached out to me in one way, shape, or form or another, they completely agree with me on this. Now, the second verse that I have to go over is Matthew 23:12, and it says, "And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted." So what does abased mean? And what does exalt mean? So whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased. Well, that means whoever glorifies himself excessively or themselves excessively, they're actually going to be humiliated. And it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next month, and it may not be even in a year from now. But sometime down the road, the Most High is going to deal with their karma, for sure. And then who shall humble himself shall be exalted. What exactly does that mean? Well, when you humble yourself and you accept that you don't know all the answers, that there's a lot of things that you still have to learn, there's still a lot that you have to improve on. This doesn't mean that you're not going to be accepting yourself for who you are. It doesn't mean that you don't have a self-respect for yourself. It doesn't mean that you don't love yourself to one degree or another. But ultimately, it means that you know your place with God. Now, God's going to put you in your place on semen retention. And I know this because I've experienced it multiple times where you think that you're on this path, or you think that you're doing the right thing for yourself in this moment, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, yes, I'm going forward, I'm doing this, I'm doing great, thank goodness, thank God for this blessing right now. And then something happens out of the blue, and all of a sudden you completely get turned around, and it's like in a matter of a day you're living out a month or two of past trauma that you went through. And you have to release all of that energy one way or another. So how do you release the energy? Well, the other day, for example, the other night I woke up with a Charlie horse. I've never had a Charlie horse before, but it lasted for 2 minutes. It was extremely painful. And it was on my right leg, which told me that it was something to do with my external. This is something to do with my masculine side, or my external in the external world, because spiritually speaking, anything that's happening on the left side of your body is going to be somewhat feminine or somewhat internal in nature, whereas what's happening on the right side of your body is either masculine or external in nature. And so the fact that it was on my right calf told me that there was something out here that was bothering me. And it wasn't necessarily a particular person, place, or thing, but it was more like a situation altogether. And so anyway, after that, like it was extremely painful waking up middle of the night and, just dealing with what it was. And if anybody doesn't know what a Charlie horse is, it's just where the muscle just completely flexes itself and you can't relax it. Like you cannot relax it no matter how hard you try. It's like an involuntary thing. And so part of me thinks that, okay, well, why did I get this Charlie horse? Why? And what was God trying to tell me in this? Because obviously there's something being brought to my attention here, right? There's something being brought to my attention. And in one of the comment section of my videos, someone mentioned about a thorn in the flesh when it comes to the flies that have come in and out of these videos for the last couple weeks now. And they literally only show up when I'm doing videos. It's absolutely insane. It's uncanny, really. It's like there's a spirit that is trying to distract me from getting this message out to you guys. But nonetheless, this person mentioned about the thorn in the flesh, and in the group Q&A session that we did yesterday, we actually talked a little bit about this. And if you want to know more about it, you can find it in 2 Corinthians. And it's about Paul understanding that sometimes God gives you Paul, who was the one that wrote this scripture, said that God gave him a thorn in the flesh to keep him from being conceited, basically. That was the overall experience that Paul had with this thorn in the flesh. And he didn't specify anything in particular about what the thorn in the flesh was. He was very vague about it, which I think he did it on purpose because he wanted us to be able to relate to it, but also be able to guide us in the right direction on how to navigate it. And so I did a lot more research on the thorn in the flesh, and I knew about this, and because you've heard people say, oh, that's just a thorn in my side, or oh, that's just is a pain in the neck, or something like that, right? So these sayings have happened, and have been around for quite some time, but it all originated from that thorn in the flesh. Like, this is a thorn in my side. This is a thorn in my flesh. And the situation that I've been in recently that has drawn this kind of conclusion for me, specifically with semen retention, it's that there are multiple women in my life that I've had to cut, basically, from the possibilities of actually pursuing something greater. And they didn't necessarily like that. And they've retaliated in certain ways of trying to make me jealous or these things, or just trying to follow me. And it's crazy how like when a woman does this, it's not kind of weird. But when a guy does it, they'd be outed and called out immediately. And I'm not trying to make this like a gender thing. I'm just saying that it's just the double standards are real. It goes back to, and I'm not opposed to double standards, by the way. When certain double standards I think are just fine. But when the double standard that you don't like, women, when it comes to the ones that you don't like, oh, well, that's a problem. But the double standards that actually benefit you, oh, that's just fine, huh? That's okay. Like, us men on semen retention, we have to recognize, and men of God have to recognize, that we have more power and control over our lives than most modern women and modern men would like us to think. We have more control than we think. Now, I'm not saying that you can control everything, but I'm saying that you can control the way that you react to certain situations. And these women that have been in my life that I've had to cut off a little bit, some of them have been just fine, and then others have tried to cross those boundaries again, and it is what it is. And so what this like Charlie horse was telling me was that I need to pay more attention to how I move in the world. I need to pay more attention to how I'm moving, and really pay more attention to just what exactly it is that I'm trying to do long term. Now, I do have that goal long term, but it was almost like God was telling me that I need to switch things up. Like, I need to take a harder look. I need to take that chance in a different way. I need to learn from my past mistakes. I had a business opportunity recently, and it was a good business opportunity to work with this other company for my personal business. And I ended up having to decline because it was just going to, I just couldn't afford it from a intellectual or financial standpoint altogether. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And it wasn't because I didn't want to take the chance. It was just that if I took that chance, I would be reducing the possibility of something, even like something that I have been working on for years already. That wouldn't happen likely if I took this business opportunity. And so I had a choice. I could either continue working on the thing that I've been working on for the past few years that I have a vision for. And I haven't really talked to anybody about it really. Like, I have people that know like kind of what I'm doing behind the scenes here. And I do want to make this announcement within the next year or two. I mean, actually, I would like to make this announcement within the next year, but depending on how things pan out, it might be another year and a half or so. But nonetheless, my goal was, okay, I want to do this. Now, I have this other business opportunity that might be able to get me more revenue for my business coming in. However, I really want to keep working on this thing here, and it's not going to get me the revenue as quickly, but it's something that I'm really passionate about and that I really have been working a long time on. Now, is this path that I'm going to take over here worth the possibility to not take this other possibility over here? Because I couldn't have time to balance both. There just wouldn't be, I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't have the time, really. So I made a choice to decline this offer over here with this other business opportunity to continue working on what I've been working on. And it was a very challenging decision to make for me. And I prayed a lot about it. And the reason that I ended up working on the same thing that I've been working on is because I don't want to stop until that job is finished. I don't want to stop until this thing that I've been working on that I really want to do something with is actually implemented into the universe. I know that we all have time to do what we need to do 24 hours a day. But also, we all have, we don't really have nothing but time. Like, some people, I don't like that saying when it's like, oh, I have nothing but time. Well, yeah, you do. Like, exactly. But time is something that we also each do not have enough as we would really want of. So it's really a matter of what do you want to do with your time. And so when I did make the decision to continue with what I've been working on, this project here, it hurt a lot. It hurt a lot. And this was part of the Charlie horse as well, this situation, where it was just bringing to attention the pain that I was going to have to endure, because it was like God was saying, you can have either one, but you can't have both. And that was a tough thing to swallow. That was a tough thing to swallow. And it was tough. It was a bitter pill to take because I didn't want that. Didn't want that. But that's what God was saying. And he's saying that as if it were for right now. Right now, you can have one or the other. You're not going to be able to get both, man. You're just not. So you have to humble yourself and make a right decision, the right decision for you. And so that's what I want to encourage you all to do. You have to make the right decision for you because, like the Bible says here, if you humble yourself, you will be exalted, which means God will lift you up. God will lift you up if you're able to humble yourself. And especially on semen retention, because you're going to be attracting all different kinds of things on semen retention. You're going to be attracting so many different opportunities. Like, I don't think I would have manifested this opportunity with this business opportunity if I wasn't on semen retention. And this is kind of how things happen. I've noticed over the last year and a half or so, I've been on retention. It's like there are things that have happened where if I wasn't on retention, I don't think they would have happened. And it's all a matter of reserving energy, and conserving resources and being able to apply those resources in the proper ways to increase what you want to have happen actually happen. So with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.